Record now.
Okay, excellent. So I think what we could do today, as Chris mentioned, I'll just give a quick refresher on the agenda itself. And then judging by some back and forth over email, it seems like it may also be interesting for you all just to see how to replicate these materials, including the district level materials, and then also jump into a little bit of the quick fixes that we see popping up a lot, how to prevent them, and then if you're comfortable, how to fix them. But if not, I will always be there to troubleshoot. So if that sounds good to everyone, I can go ahead, start sharing my screen with the agenda up and give an overview. Okay. Wonderful. So this is the ILT meeting agenda. So a refresher on the 3 tabs included. The first is the dashboard overview. So this is where you can come and see all of the meetings that have happened, some summary statistics around what went on and what was covered. And then the agenda itself, I think, will be familiar to you, I believe, in terms of having each section broken out in a nice little set of rows where you can enter things in. You can collaborate with folks as it's a shared document, just starting with check-ins, going to updates on rocks, updates from the team, and then getting down to the to-dos and the issues list to make sure you're keeping track of everything, and then kind of prioritizing and tracking which area they belong to, and then finally wrapping up with the star rating. And to actually, I'll just pause there in case we want to go in depth on any piece of the agenda before we start just reviewing the functionality there. Okay. So because this is the main copy, I won't click on any of these buttons, but just a reminder, we've set up some things to make it easy for you, so you don't have to fill out everything each time you have a meeting. So once you have data from a meeting, we can assume that the members will be the same and you want to carry over some of the things you covered in the last time. So we have this helpful button. You can click, duplicate the last template, and start from there versus starting fresh. And then one note is when you do that, and we'll cover this a bit later, sometimes it won't be like instantly when you add a new tab, it'll flow through here where you see the summary. When that doesn't happen, just having this little reset button, which pretty much just tells the sheet to, hey, let's update all the tabs. So if you click that and wait until it turns red, that's when the sheet lets you know it's ready to be reset, and you do that. And then everything should be all nice and populated in. So once again, we'll pause for questions on the workbook refresh. Okay, wonderful. So now thinking about just making copies of things for the upcoming school year, which is fast approaching. In terms of the, I need to get back to disappear. In terms of the district level dashboard, we'll do it live, but then once we do it, it'll kind of be done. So all we have to do here, because everything is pretty nicely set up between years, doesn't change a lot, we can just make a copy. And this is in the folder you all used last year, which I can share out after the meeting. But I'll just create a new one for 23-24. And then make a copy there. Wait for the computer to do its thing. And then once we have that, all we really need to do is clear out the links here, so we're not pulling in any old data. And then, yeah, clean out any kind of things that have been manually filled in. And we're pretty much good to go in terms of being able to use this for the next school year at the district level. Just want to make sure, update all the labels so we're not getting confused. But this will, this will function great and be all set. I will send the link here in the chat so you have it. I'll also share it out after the meeting. But for Colonial, this will be the district level dashboard for the upcoming school year. And if, in the future, you do have to make a copy for another school year, this is exactly how you'll do it, and it will be pretty ready to go. So any questions on that process?
Keanu, just real quick. So as new dashboards are created for each one of their schools, then that just automatically populates into the district dashboard?
Yes, once you pull in the link, and that is what we're right about to do, just to cover how to go about replicating a dashboard for your campus and pull it into the district dashboard. So we can hop over there. So it'll be a pretty similar process to just making the copy of the district dashboard. So just hitting that make a copy button, we'll just make this clear. This is my test file. It'll give you a little like yellow warning notice, but this just means it's going to carry over all the formulas that make it work. So all fine there. We'll make a copy. And then once we do, only really a couple things we need to make sure that we do before it's fully up and running. The first is, because some of the formulas are written in code, we need to make sure that the code is allowed to run. So a good way to just do this is you can either wait for the first time you need to duplicate your ILT, or just do it up front. You see, we click here, it's gonna need your permission for the formulas to run in the back end. So we'll just use our Google account, and it's going to give you a warning that it looks a little scary, but all this means is for this specific sheet, it's going to let our formulas talk to this sheet. It's not going to go wild on your Google Drive account, changing everything. It's just going to look at this sheet and do the things that it's written to do. So we can go ahead and click allow there. So once we do that, we can, and I'll just update the sharing permission. Sometimes when a sheet is like restricted access, in terms of if you're looking at the district dashboard, and you don't have sharing permissions to one of the links you pull in, it can get a little wonky. So I'm just going to make sure, because this is a test, I'll do anyone with the link, but that's not something you have to do. I would say just make sure any new campus dashboard you make is, and I'll put this in the chat, is shared with this Gmail account. So if we need to troubleshoot, if we need to take a look at the dashboard, we can, and that's all that would allow for. So then to actually pull it into the district dashboard, we copy and paste the link. And I think because of the like overall link sharing, it went in right away. Sometimes what will happen, they'll give you a little error. That's completely normal. What you'll want to do, and let's see if we can, we'll just use a little test copy I made earlier for the break fixes. Let's see if we can get it to show that error. Yes, so it'll give you the little reference error, but if we, let's share it with the, okay, live troubleshooting. So if the sharing permissions are right and you see this error, to the right of this little box, you'll see a allow permissions. And actually, let me switch Google accounts and see if that works.
I'm glad you're sharing that because that's all we had on our spread or dashboard
Yes.
last year.
Okay, so this is like, okay, if the sharing permissions are set up correctly, but not like everyone can view it, you'll get this error, which means you just need to let the sheets talk to each other. And all you need to do there is allow access. So if you get the error we were getting before, where there's no option here, that means the sheet that you pulled in, so your campus level dashboard, the sharing permissions are probably pretty restricted. So you might want to share it with a couple more accounts, not everyone, just to make sure that it flows through. But in the case you get the, I might have to, okay, there we go. In the case you get this, all you need to do is hit allow access, and then it'll flow through all nice. So yeah, good to get a little live troubleshooting there. See what the process is and what can happen. But any questions on either making a copy of that blank ILT dashboard or pulling it into the district level dashboard? Okay, so now what I just wanted to do is run through a couple of the most common problems we see in the ILT dashboard. And I think framing for this is definitely, if you don't feel comfortable making the fixes I'm about to show you, feel free to send it over. But I think it'll be helpful for you to see, so you're able to prevent.
Keanu, I was about to say, I'm glad that you said that because I'll probably be sending them over.
Yep. But yeah, it's a good, like, have them in your mind. So if you're thinking of maybe doing one of the things that cause a break, you're like, shouldn't do that. But yeah, always ready to help. And realize, yeah, when it's a new system, sometimes doing your own troubleshooting can kind of lead to something being made worse. But jumping over to just a little test copy I made to mess around with, show you some of the breaks that happen. I think the most common one we see, and we'll use this sheet, is as folks are using the dashboard, sometimes, you'll have a notes document, maybe that you used in another one of your meetings, and you really want to pull it over to your ILT dashboard. So let's just pretend I had two cells that I wanted to copy and paste into the ILT dashboard, but I wanted to paste them in a slightly different place. So I just went ahead and pasted them in. And what happens is if you go columns J through O are the formulas that make everything work in the back end. And if you accidentally paste something really like in any row of these columns, you can see what just happened is we got a lot of these scary NA values. And if we go to the dashboard, as we've lost all of the data from that meeting. So I think our guidance is to prevent this is if you're ever copy and pasting something in, instead of what I just did, like just clicking on the cell and pasting it in, which could lead to it pasting over some formulas, just doing that double click to make sure you're only in the cell and we can paste in and it'll only paste in that cell, or to be extra safe, using the formula bar instead and pasting in there to make sure whatever you're pasting in only lands where you want it to. So any questions there before we go over, if you're comfortable, how you might go about fixing this? Okay, so to fix this, it's pretty simple. So I think what you first do is, okay, this one's broken, the meeting on the 31st, but I see the meeting on the 24th, that's pulling in all fine. So let me open that up. And I see all these formulas are fine. So I'm just going to highlight all of the columns here, copy them. And then 29th we know is broken. Okay, it was actually the 31st that we broke. And I'll just select the first cell there and paste it in. This will paste over anything that has been pasted in accidentally. And then you can see all those NAs are gone. Everything is looking a lot better. And then all the data is back where we need it to be. So I'd say, yeah, if you feel comfortable, feel free to take a crack at it. If not, feel free to send it over. This is one of those fixes that takes me like 5 seconds, as you just saw, so not a hassle at all. So the next issue that we commonly see, and I think that first issue is honestly like probably 80% of what happens when the ILT workbooks break. The other thing that can kind of be confusing to see is when the title of the ILT workbook changes. Sometimes, you know, folks accidentally delete this. So usually it's all nice and titled with the ILT meeting agenda, but sometimes that gets edited and you won't see it kind of do anything on the front end. Everything will still be great. And to kind of demonstrate this bug, we'll just get rid of this sheet for a little bit. But how this will impact things is when you go to duplicate the last template, and we'll just call it, yeah, the 25th. The way the formula works is it actually looks at all those titles to see what is an ILT workbook. And if the title is not right, it gets a little confused. And what you end up with is, yeah, something that is very not great. And yeah, we don't want to end up with that. So I think just a easy fix there is if you're seeing weird things with that duplicate button in terms of the last ILT template, just running through as a first check, making sure all the titles are the same. If they aren't, kind of finding the original template and making sure that title is the same. So the formula doesn't get confused there. So those are two fixes. Two of the main fixes. There's one more, but why don't you just pause for questions if there are any now. Okay. And the last one, I think, is if it happens, I would ask you just send that to me right away because the fix involved is a little more complex, a little more involved. So this is more of a word of caution. So the way the formulas are set up, you can absolutely add as many rows as you want, and the ILT workbook will be fine. Everything will flow through. But if you start deleting columns, that's when, say if we delete this column, it may not have actually, because the way the cells are set up, it may not actually like impact anything for the experience using the workbook. But what happens on the front end is everything gets a little wonky. And then because of the way things work, even if I were to just add the column back in, there's still some formatting that needs to take place to make sure things can properly flow through. So would ask that, yeah, just rows are fine to add, columns, in terms of adding and deleting them, are a little bit more tricky. So I would advise against that, so we can have the all the data flow through to the front end, so you can view it in a nice summarized version. And then this is not an exhaustive list of all the fixes, but these are probably the 3 most common. So if any of the fixes you want to try to implement on your own, go ahead. But if either you would like to send them over just to get kind of more experienced hands on the fixes, feel free to. Or if you see an issue pop up that we did not show, feel free to send that over as well and can help you out with it. But That was everything I had to overview, but also happy since we have time. If there are specific things you want to see, happy to walk through them now.
Keanu, over on kind of like if you can go back to just a regular sheet, a meeting sheet.
Yeah.
I know one of the things that has come up, and I don't know if we've talked about it, Jen and the team at Colonial, but if you go down to the issues list, right there. So what if, like, where it is recognized performance, teacher support, leader support, advanced equity, what if they want to personalize those titles? Are they able to do that?
Yeah, so the way this works, it won't disrupt anything. So if we're just gonna rename this, we'll just say test. Everything will still flow through. So it'd be like if we just go through this issue, technically it's still under the recognized performance percentage. But if you want to make like a district-wide shift to that, all you would really need to do is every time you see recognized performance in a title, just replace it with your area, and it won't impact anything as long as you are not editing what's below the headers. So completely fine. We just ask that you let us know and give us a heads up if you do that. So as we roll things up in data analysis, we're not kind of making false groupings where actually one category is different and we combine them because we thought they were the same. Any other questions? Happy to give some time back on a busy Friday, as Chris said, if not.
Thanks. I think we just need like a refresher. We haven't used it in months, obviously, since we've been off school. And so for me, I probably will have questions, or once we get back and we start trying to do it. I just didn't have any specific questions, but those strategies and the fact that this will be recorded will definitely be helpful.
Yep. Yeah. Experience is always kind of the best teacher, and send those questions along. I believe you have my email, but I will just link that in the chat again. So you have it to reach out.
Thank you for that. I was going to just make sure that we have your email in case we need to reach out to you.
There we go.
That.
And Keanu, thanks for everything. I'm going to go ahead and stop recording.